for those of you here, thanks a lot. And hopefully at least I'll make it entertaining over the next 45 minutes. I just thought I'll start with a video. This is a very old ad, but I'll play the ad, and for you from Turkey, I'll explain the context to it. Right?
बाकी तुम्हारी तनख्वाह
दिन है सुहाना आज पहली तारीख है दिन है सुहाना आज पहली तारीख है खुश है जमाना आज पहली तारीख है जी पहली तारीख है बीवी बोली घर जरा जल्दी से आना शाम को पिया जी हमें सिनेमा दिखाना अरे करो ना बहाना आज पहली तारीख है खुश है जमाना आज पहली तारीख है मीठा है खाना आज पहली तारीख है मीठा है खाना आज पहली तारीख है
Okay, today is the first of the month, and today this ad is about the first day of the month, but the cultural significance of this is...
And where is the chocolate?
Yeah, okay, I will get that to you. So when we were kids, usually our parents got our salaries on the first day of the month, and if you were in the south, my dad would get flowers for my mom, and then he would get sweets to us, right? And actually what I wanted to talk to you about was how actually brands are built if you know the culture of the country. And this particular, what we did with Cadbury over many years is to tap into the culture of sweets in India. So we said, if you are thinking of sweets on the first day of the month, then instead of thinking whatever laddu, for those of you who are familiar, it's an Indian sweet, you could also think of chocolates. So we leverage culture to actually grow chocolates in this country. Just a couple of things. I'm a big fan of this great man. He said, nation's culture resides in the hearts and soul of its people. All brands and all advertising is about connecting to people's hearts and souls. So if you understand the culture of the country, then you get to their soul. If you're in advertising and a filmmaker and you're making stuff for India, then you'll find some connect there, right? This is just definition. It's broadly defined as the shared beliefs, values, customs, and practices. What we as advertising agencies and brands do is to tap into these and then see how we can seed brands in that context and get people to buy the stuff, right? So the first example that I wanted to talk to you about is how do you leverage culture to drive new behavior, right? And just to give you a context, this is Cadbury, and we must understand that this is a journey that's happened over 15 years. When we started working with Cadbury, India's chocolate consumption was about 20 grams per person, per capita consumption of 20 grams. Today we are at about 160, 170 grams, and this has largely been driven by this brand. And what we did is we actually took the cultural truth about meetha, which is sweet, which all of us do. So for those of you who are not from this country, in India, every festival, every moment, any beginning, everything comes with sweets. So we have a great sweet tooth. Same with Turkey. Yeah. So we said, what if we got people to think of chocolates, which is not part of our culture? Now it seems like it, but we built it in 30 years, and get people to think of chocolate when they think about meetha, right? And this is a journey that has gone on for about 20 years and actually helped Cadbury build. And it came essentially from that simple thought of when people think meetha, which is sweets in India, how do we get them to think Cadbury, right? And that's what we did. So this is how the story of cultural branding helped Cadbury becoming Kuch Meetha. I'll play 3 pieces of advertising from different eras in time. The first one was with Amitabh Bachchan way back, and the thought behind it was, in India, we said, why can't you celebrate a small victory like passing an exam with a chocolate? And this was that piece of advertising.
दिल को जब खुशी छू जाए
भैया एक डेयरी मिल्क देना
कुछ मीठा हो जाए अरे भाई साहब
पैसे तो पप्पू देगा
पैसे पप्पू देगा
एक डेयरी मिल्क किसे चाहिए पैसे पप्पू देगा
ए भैया एक डेयरी मिल्क मुझे भी
हाँ ये लो
पैसे पप्पू देगा
अरे पर बात क्या है
पप्पू पास हो गया
अपना पप्पू अरे ये अपना पप्पू पास हो गया ये पास हो गया पप्पू पास हो गया आजा बेटा आजा अरे क्या बात है मेरा पप्पू तो पास हो गया
आखिर 12वीं पास हो ही गया।
क्या बात ये ले कुछ मीठा हो जाए।
कैडबरी डेयरी मिल्क, कुछ मीठा हो जाए।
काले काले पैसे पप्पू देगा।
Yeah, just move on. Can you play the next one, please?
एक्सक्यूज मी, क्या आप अपनी डेयरी मिल्क का एक छोटा सा बाइट देंगी?
क्या मैं आपको जानती हूँ? तो
मेरी माँ कहती है कोई भी शुभ काम करने से पहले कुछ मीठा खा लेना चाहिए, काम अच्छा होता है।
वैसे क्या शुभ काम करने जा रहे हो?
मैं सोच रहा था कि आपको घर छोड़ दूं।
शुभारंभ, कुछ मीठा हो जाए।
So the cultural context to this is that, so the first we said we will seed chocolates when there are small victories, like when you pass an exam. And then we moved on to saying, okay, we grew by some amount, and then we said, how do we grow it further? You can skip this one, maybe we can play the next one. And then we said, in India, there is a thing about when you're about to begin something auspicious, then in the old days, our moms would give us curd and sugar. And we said, can we substitute that with chocolates? And which is where the Shubhara campaign came from. So over about 10 years, we kept building Cadbury and seeding it in different cultural moments. First it was Diwali, like festivals. Then we said small victories. Then we moved into when you're beginning something. You can maybe play the next commercial. Then we said, what if we got people, all of us have a sweet tooth, and we like to have something sweet after dinner, especially if the food's not great. And we said, why can't we seed chocolate there? Can you play the next, not this one, the next one, please?
खाने में क्या है?
करेला।
मीठे में क्या है? खाने के बाद मीठे में कुछ मीठा हो जाए।
So we just seeded chocolates across many cultural moments in India, and that's how the category grew and chocolates grew over many years. So that's the story of Cadbury, but it's just how you take a cultural truth like meetha and build Cadbury. That was this story. Sometimes, and this is just one example of just seeding the brand in culture and growing. Sometimes just finding the right cultural context and seeding the brand's benefit can really magnify and make the people relate to the product benefit a great deal. Go to the next slide, please. This is a brand that we worked on. Seat was nothing then, about 20, 30 years back. They were just starting out to be a two-wheeler brand. And they wanted to say grip. And what we took was the utter chaos that we all face on Indian roads. And we coined a line called "The road is filled with idiots." And then suddenly, because there are so many idiots in the road, you needed a tire that had a great grip.
इंडिया की सड़कों पे आपको अलग अलग महापुरुष मिलेंगे, जैसे हमारे अपने ये उसेन बोल्ट। इंडिया भले ओलंपिक्स में फिसलती हो, पर ऐसे चैंपियन हमारी सड़कों के कोने कोने में छुपे हैं। ये कभी भी आपकी गाड़ी के सामने लॉन्ग जंप, हाई जंप और स्टीपल चेस का उम्दा नमूना दे सकते हैं। तो एक दिन भारत एथलेटिक्स में स्वर्ण पदक जीते और आप ये दिन देखने के लिए सलामत रहें, चलाएं सिएट बाइक टायर्स पे फॉर द गेम कॉल्ड रोड। सिएट, इट हेल्प्स।
For those of you who have no context of Hindi, this ad basically said there are many Usain Bolts on Indian roads who cross and do long jump and high jump and all kinds of things, but you need to brake at the right point, otherwise you're dead. And that's what this was about. This is pretty much a cultural icon in this country, this brand called Fevicol. Piyush Pandey, our chairman, built it. In fact, this is used as a phrase, our Prime Minister used it in Japan, saying the bond between India and Japan is like the bond of Fevicol. It's basically an adhesive. But how do you actually tell the story of something very boring, which, sticks two pieces of wood or anything like that in a interesting context? Here are two pieces of work that actually tapped into deep Indian cultural milieu. The first one is, it's amazing how a lot of us It's got a lot better now. In the earlier days, you used to travel on public transport and hang on to dear life. And if you didn't hang on, you would just drop. And we use that metaphor to tell the story. This film won at Cannes, by the way. Yeah, you can play this commercial. This was an iconic piece from those days. The next one is a very, very interesting one. This is for a brand called Fevikwik, and it basically sticks anything quickly. Now, you could have told this story in any way, but again, there was a time in India where, and it's there even now to some extent, and wrongly so, that people who speak English, and we used to call them Peters down in the south, thought of themselves as slightly intellectually superior. And there were always these simple, humble folks of the town who would typically be looked down upon, but actually their native intelligence is often much better than the so-called English-educated people. We used that truth to actually bring alive a benefit of stick something very quickly, and that's this piece. Yeah, play.
ரெண்டு மூணு நாலு அஞ்சு
Yeah. So simple. What we did is took something from what was our culture. And we must understand before this, till actually Piyush, who's the chairman of Ogilvy, came and transformed Indian advertising, we still had the Brit hangover. And we used to write a lot of stuff in English, which most of us didn't understand. And we actually made Indian advertising Indian, and we're proud of that. And these are all pieces of work that deeply seed any brand, whether it's a chocolate, which is an alien product, or like Fevicol, it's a homegrown Indian brand in our culture. The third is, I'll show you two examples of brands, and sometimes understanding culture in the market can take something very basic like tea, and the second one's chocolate, and make people really love your brand. Sometimes you just love the brand for what they do at an emotional level, right? So you can go to the next slide, please. So this is Red Label tea, and many years back we were saying, okay, basically we need to say it's a tasty cup of tea. But there is a truth about tea in this country, which I'm sure may be there in other cultures too, which is tea is the ultimate symbol of Indian hospitality. Even if your enemy came home, you would serve them tea first before you fought with them, perhaps. And tea is so much in our culture that we said tea has this amazing ability to bridge any divide. You may be fighting, but the moment you put a cup of tea in front of two people, they somehow find a way to at least take a few sips and bond over it. And we would have all seen it, in our homes, and it's a great leveler. In fact, there's a brand of tea in India called Wagh Bakri, which is actually a goat and a tiger. And the name says Wagh Bakri because goat and tiger, because even a goat and a tiger can bond over a cup of tea. And we took that and we said, can we actually spin stories of how a cup of tea can sometimes in our culture, we are a very diverse country, many languages, many religions, many castes, many principles. But actually we're Indian at the end of the day, and there is something that holds us all together. And sometimes the simple, humble cup of tea could be the bridge that connects people. There are two. This one's about tea, and you can just play this commercial, please.
चाबी नहीं मिल रही।
अरे यार,
मैंने चलते हुए बैग में रखी थी।
बैग में डाली तो कहाँ चलेगी? वहाँ निकल गई। ढंग से देखो ना यार।
चाबी भूल गए आप?
जी।
आइए ना, हमारे यहाँ इंतजार कीजिए।
नहीं, हम
ठीक है, देखते रहो उसको, इसको बाहर
सुनिए, मैं चाय बना रही हूँ, आइए।
करो फोन ताले वाले,
चाय की बहुत अच्छी खुशबू आती है इसके घर से।
आती होगी। तुम्हारे घुटनों में दर्द हो गया होगा, तो चलो अंदर बैठ के इंतजार करते हैं।
चीनी कितने लेंगे?
कुछ घरों की चाय में अपनेपन का स्वाद होता है।
चाय बहुत अच्छी बनी है।
एक कप चाय और मिलेगी।
जी,
ब्रुक बॉन्ड रेड लेबल, स्वाद अपनेपन का।
Yeah, simple cup of tea, but there are, and we're a crazy country and we're proud of it. We have lots of differences in ourselves, but at the end of the day, we find a way to patch all of that up. The second piece that I'm going to show you is in Cadbury Dairy Milk again. They have a global platform called Generosity because the glass and a half full on their pack. But what does generosity mean in our Indian context, right? And at this point in time, it was coincidental, not that we planned it. There was a lot of noise from a southern state called Tamil Nadu where they were talking, why should we learn Hindi? And we said, what's wrong in learning two languages? And languages needn't be the only way to connect with people. And we actually did this piece of work, which got a lot of resonance. Some of you may have got it on your WhatsApp feeds, but this essentially said, sometimes just a large heart can bond people and bring them together. That's the next piece, please.
विमला गोवा का बताना जल्दी।
अरे सुनो, इनसे मिलो, मिसेज अय्यर चेन्नई से, कॉलोनी में नहीं आई।
नमस्ते नमस्ते, बैठी ना। नमस्ते, कैसी हैं? चेन्नई से।
सॉरी, मैं हिंदी थोड़ा थोड़ा।
हाँ ठीक है, कोई बात नहीं। गोवा।
अरे बताती हूँ, बहुत मजे की। तुझे क्या ही बताऊँ? पता है हस्बैंड क्या बोले?
क्या? बोलना।
On holiday, my husband romancing, buying chocolate, sitting on scooter. I'm not sitting. Husband going, gone. I chill out. Husband. Then he back scares. Sorry, हाँ. My English
थोड़ा, but very sweet.
कैडबरी डेयरी मिल्क, कुछ अच्छा हो जाए, कुछ मीठा हो जाए।
Yeah, it's a simple story. The point about this is this story can't be told anywhere else. It can only be told in our country because that's our context. It's deep, it's our culture. And putting a brand in the context of that culture suddenly makes the brand so much more dearer to people, whether it's Fevicol, whether it's Cadbury, whether it's Seat. It suddenly made the brand resonate vis-a-vis talking a language which was very manufacturing or perhaps a Western idiom which most of us wouldn't connect. This is the advertising that my mother would see on television and come and say, hey, come here, did you do this ad? And if it was bad, she'd tell me, did you make that terrible ad? And if it was good, she would tell me, I liked what you saw. So yeah, that's what we do. What we must also understand is that India is a country of many cultures. You have north, south, east, west. And sometimes brands gain a lot by actually tapping into it. You may have the same product, but you may choose to do a certain kind of advertising for the same product in the north and very differently in the south. I'll show you an example of Asian Paints, a very dear brand of ours. In the north, because the problem is dust and we play a different idiom there, we do a certain kind of advertising. For the same product, when we do it in the south, we do a very different kind of advertising. So if any of you manage brands that talk to the north of India and the south of India or to the east of India, you must be sensitive to the fact that sometimes one template doesn't fit all. So you may need to tailor your communication. Somebody just spoke about, the Prime Minister's speech getting translated into 13 languages through AI. But sometimes when it's Mr. Modi, you can pull that off, but for lesser mortals like us, we may need to actually tailor stuff to the culture that you exist in. This is the same brand, the same product. The benefits are different, but culturally executed very differently. Can you just play both commercials? Yeah.
तो पेश है छोटे नवाब का सालाना बहादुरी करतब। आन दो भाई। आते नया एपेक्स अल्टीमा अब छोटे नवाब के लिए कुछ तालियां
The same brand could protect us, but also could protect from rain. But when we do the same brand in Kerala, we do it very differently. Yeah.
ചേട്ടാ പായലും പിള്ളേരും കൂടി ചുമരക്കാക വേൾഡ് മാപ്പ് പോലെ ആയല്ലോ.
എടാ കുമാര നീ തേങ്ങയിട്, ബാക്കിയുള്ള കാര്യമൊക്കെ ഞാൻ നോക്കല്ലേട്ടാ.
ഇടപൊഴിയാതെ മഴ പെയ്താൽ പായലും പൂപ്പലും ഒന്നിച്ചെത്തും. ചന്ദിരൻ ചേട്ടന്റെ വീട് കണ്ടാൽ അമ്പിളി മാമനുദിച്ച പോലെ പായലും പൂപ്പലും ഒട്ടുമില്ല, പിള്ളരും ഇപ്പവും തീരെയില്ല.
കുമാര നീ ആ പാട്ടൊക്കെ നിർത്തി തേങ്ങയിടാ.
കോരിച്ചോരിയും മഴയിൽ പോലും മിന്നിത്തിളങ്ങും പടങ്ങ് പോലെ.
കേരളത്തിലെ കാലാവസ്ഥയ്ക്കായി പ്രത്യേകം നിർമ്മിച്ച ഏഷ്യൻ പെയിന്റ്സ് അൾട്ടിമ പ്രൊട്ടക്ട് സ്പെഷ്യൽ വാട്ടർ പ്രൂഫിംഗ് വാറന്റിയോടുകൂടി.
പായലും പൂപ്പലും ഓടിപ്പോയേ, പിള്ളരും ഇപ്പവും കൂടെ പോയേ.
What I wanted to make was sometimes you need to tailor stuff to different markets differently, and that's, if you understood that culture in the market, then you're more successful than running one piece of communication across the country. But sometimes that works too, right? Okay, we heard the previous gentleman talk a lot about AI. This is a campaign that we used AI for in a very different way. This was done for Cadbury Celebration, which is typically a product that's sold during Diwali, which is our biggest festival, right? Let me just walk you through this. Yeah. So this was in the context of COVID. And this was just after COVID. Things were bad. Diwali was coming up. And most of our sales came from just mom and pop stores, right? Not the big departmental stores, the traders that handled us. And basically the sentiment was low, business was low. We were just getting out of COVID. And Cadbury actually said, if we have to succeed, we have to create positive sentiment in our shopkeepers to stock our chocolates. And we said, okay, what could we do to do that? And we said, what if we made an ad for every single shopkeeper in this country? So we actually took Shah Rukh, and he was kind enough, and he's maybe talking downstairs, and he didn't charge any money for this. He said, it's a cause that we want to do, let's do it well. So we took Shah Rukh Khan and actually created an ad where he endorsed every single shop. And that we did through AI. There was a company called Rephrase AI, which actually we shot him, and then it was able to sync it to whatever video that you wanted to create. It not only created videos for shops we created, but it allowed you and me to actually go and say, I want to help the shopkeeper next to my house, and you type their name in, and then a video would get generated of his shop, which he would then WhatsApp it to everybody saying, Shah Rukh's made an ad for me. You could see that in the next slide. Can you just play this video, please?
Big brands have big money to hire famous people, but not the small guys. And they are the ones who are still hurting. Presenting Shah Rukh Khan, My Ad.
Welcome, Shah Rukh Khan.
He almost certainly has more devoted fans than any other movie star in the world.
Biggest movie star in the world.
Forbes have called him one of the biggest movie stars in the world.
We helped small businesses by making Shah Rukh Khan, the world's biggest movie star, their brand ambassador.
इस दिवाली आप भी ना अपने पास वाले फैशन नोवा एम्पोरियम से ही कपड़ों की शॉपिंग करना. सिद्धि विनायक इलेक्ट्रॉनिक्स से लेटेस्ट स्मार्टफोन खरीदकर धमाकेदार सेल्फी पोस्ट करना.
क्या कर रहे हो? मीठा लाए कि नहीं?
We used machine learning to recreate Shah Rukh Khan's face and voice to take the local store names in the ads.
आप भी ना अपने पास वाली चॉइस ऑफ फैशन से ही कपड़ों की शॉपिंग करना. रॉयल फैशन से ही, एमके क्लॉथ्स से ही, पास वाली लक्ष्मी कलेक्शन से ही कपड़ों की शॉपिंग.
Different versions of the same ad with local store names were targeted as per the PIN code of the viewer, showing them only the nearby stores. But it is impossible to cover all the stores. So we gave the power to the people to create their own version of Shah Rukh Khan, My Ad. Any small business owner could promote their stores through their own social media networks like WhatsApp forwards and other social media pages.
It is Shah Rukh Khan selling your store, man. If you're a small-time retailer or a merchant, what an amazing thing to have.
Cadbury ad is an ad campaign that has gone viral.
A new ad which stars Bollywood superstar Shah Rukh Khan is winning hearts all over social media.
And what we are learning is that over 1 lakh local stores have already created their own ad with Shah Rukh as a brand ambassador.
दुकानों के नाम पूरी सेलिब्रेशंस के दिवाली ऐड में शामिल हैं।
सपने में भी नहीं सोचा था कि शाहरुख खान मेरे दुकान का ऐड करेगा।
Shah Rukh Khan, my ad.
Again, Diwali very rooted in our culture. It was a time when COVID had hit. We had to help shopkeepers. And we knew what we were setting out to do, and we didn't know how to do it. And that's the most fascinating things about guys like the NVIDIA guy who was here before, which is in the earlier days, we would think up an idea like this and wouldn't know how to execute it. But today with technology and AI, you're able to just generate it beautifully and get it done. This was done at scale. This, of course, was a highly successful campaign. It won at Cannes. It won a Grand Prix at Cannes for effectiveness and a titanium at Cannes, because this was the first time that an Indian agency and an Indian brand had used AI in such an ingenious manner to help people. And hence we were the best in the world that year, which was 2 years back at Cannes. And that was a really proud moment for all of us, because everybody was growing on AI at that point in time, but actually it was an Indian company and an Indian agency that actually cracked the idea. And it was done by a boy. The tech part of it, Ogilvy did the creative, and there's a tech part done by a person called Rephrase, a company called Rephrase AI. And I met Ashray recently. He's joined Shantanu at Adobe. So he's actually building Adobe's new global video platform out of San Francisco. But the kid sat in Bangalore and he's from IIT. So it's a very proud moment for all of us, right? Yeah, and this was about, using culture. And sometimes occasion and events are a great opportunity. So like this was Diwali, what do we do? The next slide is this is what we did at the Kumbh this year for Amazon, global brand. And what we actually did was Amazon said we use such a lot of boxes. And can we use them in any purposeful way which is of use to people? And actually we upcycled the delivery boxes into beds. And we used it in the Kumbh for people who perhaps didn't have the money to go stay in a hotel. There were some outstanding arrangements made, but we also had this. So we just made beds out of boxes for people to sleep on. It is pretty typically quite cold at that part, And this is another use of. Now, why do brands do it? Is because everybody who experienced this and saw this happening in an event like Kumbh, which had 50, 60 crore people, remembered that Amazon did something good for people, whether they used it or not. And it creates some level of brand love for a brand like Amazon. So you might say, okay, next time I'm buying, hey, these are nice guys, let me just buy them over somebody else, right? And that's how the human mind works. Not everything is numbers and rational, right? So this is something that we did. So the point I wanted to make was sometimes when you have a culture location like a Kumbh Mela or a Diwali or any of those are great opportunities for brand building. And if you think about it with a little more of humanity and heart, then you can do something meaningful. And Shah Rukh and this were great examples of that. One very high-tech, one completely low-tech. One was AI and one is just boxes that we discard outside our homes. And both did very well, right? Yeah. This we can't not but talk about today, which is a lot of us are spending our times on social platforms, on Instagram, Meta, Facebook, YouTube. Here are a couple of examples of how, and one thing we must remember is that while there is enough and more technology, but ultimately technology will get leveled off. Everybody will have AI, everybody will have access to all of this. It's about how well do you understand what's going on the platform? How are people behaving on the platform? What's the culture that's on the platform? That actually helps you make a difference. Once you understand that, you can deploy technology beautifully, but if you just had the technology, you wouldn't be able to connect with people. These are two examples which I wanted to share with you. So I just wanted to say this: digital briefs don't start with technology. Please do spend some time figuring out what are people doing on those platforms. Lots of people watching recipes, lots of people watching YouTube pre-rolls. Are they really people trolling each other? What's going on these platforms? And once you understand that, you can make a deeper connect. This is something that we did in partnership with Meta, because we had Meta to create something in their product to make this happen. And they were gracious enough to partner us and Cadbury on this venture. So you can just play this video, please.
None of my friends stood up for me when I was bullied. The bullies would have shut up even if one of them had supported me.
So it actually is in alignment of how I think, which is kill them with kindness. So every time you see
Pratik, you're on.
Yeah, I'm ready.
पर्पल हार्ट अब से नया रूल है, तब तक पर्पल हार्ट्स भेजो जब तक ट्रोलिंग रुक न जाए. Let's kill it. इस फ्रेंडशिप डे पर्पल हार्ट दो, दोस्त का साथ दो.
It's modern, that's social media, but we just found trolling as a cultural thing that the brand should stand against. And sometimes you need to stand against something, so we stood against that and we partnered Meta to create something. It's not about the tech, it's about really understanding what's going on. The next was an absolute fun one. This is Perk. The brand stands for not taking things very seriously. So we make lightness an attitude and encourage people to not take everything too seriously. And what we did is we actually took all kinds of videos on YouTube and ran pre-rolls, which were just funny. Can you play this video?
So it can be.
Contains scenes of graphic violence against carrots. This video might be triggering for viewers facing water shortage today. Contains no representation of curvy body type.
Yeah, it's a fun thing, but you just pick something that was going on social media and then on YouTube and played it. The last piece that I wanted to share with you is sometimes you can do something really meaningful when you're looking at the cultural environment in which the brand is in and make a real difference. We did this with the Tata Group, and we do handle a brand called Titan Eye Plus, which is a spectacle brand, and we said, can we do something? And when we were talking about it, what can a spectacle brand do? And then we came on this idea of the truck drivers. And a lot of our truck drivers actually stop at dhabas to eat because they're hardly at home and on the long journeys. And we said, what if we could actually do something to get their eyes checked in those places? So this is what we did. Yeah.
Welcome to the world of Indian truck drivers. And 3 truck drivers in India have compromised vision. Trucks and lorries were involved in over 25,000 crashes and over 10,000 deaths.
आपने कभी आंखें टेस्ट कराई हैं? आंखें किनकी बजती है ना जो आपकी उम्र के?
With many of them living on the road, eye care is surely not their top priority. Since they won't come to us, we went to them. In the middle of their long journeys, the truckers' pit stop is at the ubiquitous Indian dhaba that serves them regional home-style food. We removed the old menus from the tables and the walls and replaced it with our eye test menu, which was the only way to order food. Titan Eye Plus, India's expert eye care brand, presents the eye test menu.
नहीं दिख रहा छोटा अक्षर नहीं दिख रहा नहीं वो तो ऐसे जीरो लगता है.
Once the truckers knew they had a problem, we had optometrists on site to conduct a thorough eye exam, which was free of cost and would determine what the corrective prescription spectacles would be.
The eye test is devised and designed exactly the way we do in our clinic. The only difference is the alphabets are replaced with the names of menu dishes.
Based on the styles they liked, we shipped the glasses to their home addresses.
जितने ट्रक वाले हैं उनको चश्मा लगाना चाहिए ये लाजमी बहुत जरूरी है निगाह वास्ते.
42,000 drivers tested yet, which means 42,000 potential accidents avoided. Extensively covered by major national and regional media, this cause has caught the attention of India's largest truck manufacturers, Tata Motors, National Highway Authority of India, and even United Nations India, who want to further the cause. The eye test menu by Titan Eye Plus, a major milestone in making Indian roads safe.
Something that we did, this will go to Cannes, but I think we got a lot of support from the government, from the Tata Group, to actually expand this initiative because so we need all kinds of partners to do it. But again, this came from really knowing a trucker's life, understanding their culture, the fact that they go to a dhaba, the fact that they do order food, and how can you change that, and that's what led this piece. Yeah, so few things that I wanted to leave you with. It's what I started. I just summarized all of this in one slide. You know, understanding culture can be a great way to drive new behavior, like I showed you the Cadbury example of substituting Meeta. Sometimes putting your brand in the right context can make your functional benefit like stickability or grip and SEAT come alive much more than if you had done it without the cultural understanding. When you embed the culture in some deep emotional values and systems in this country, like the Red Label ad or the Cadbury ad or where you saw the Tamil and the Hindi story, it suddenly makes the brand dearer. India is not one, there are many Indias, and you may need to customize for north, south, east, west, depending on where you want to go. Technology is super useful. It's a magical tool, but if you can overlay it with culture, you create magic. One without the other is less optimal. So I would always encourage you to look at culture and people while you look at technology. Digital and social platforms are where all the young ones are, and that's what they seem to be watching, doing. It's very important for us to engage and understand what's going on there, whether it's gaming, whether it's Instagram, what are they creating on Reels. And once we understand that, I think we are able to connect brands far better to them. And the last is there's a huge milieu of cultural opportunities in this country for brands to actually make a real difference to people. Like the Amazon bed or this one. When you make a real difference to people, I think your brands become dearer. That's broadly what I wanted to share. And like in Indian style, I didn't say thank you, I said Shubharam, which is nice. I hope you can begin with this. So, thank you very much.